immediately following. But let me say good morning and well, good afternoon if you're on Eastern time here. For those of you on Central and Mountain time that are out there, still good morning to you all. I want to welcome everyone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey, and I oversee all the youth and educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're extremely excited to bring this program to you, Heart of a Hall of Famer, featuring Pro Football Hall of Famer Mr. Ken Houston. And we're always excited about this program, but we've done this 30, 35 times, but this is kind of our anniversary program because Mr. Houston actually did the very first one of these about 3 years ago. So we're especially excited to see, and I'm sure he can attest to it, that it's adapted quite a bit. The technology's still the same, but some of the things that we've incorporated have definitely changed over the years. So we're excited to have Mr. Houston back after a 3-year hiatus from us here at least with our educational programs through this series. He does plenty with the Hall of Fame throughout the year over those years as well. But this program, the real idea and premise behind it is to convey to you students what it took to get to the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. And as we shared with the earlier group, you know, it's obviously our Hall of Famers are great examples of athleticism and skill. But it took more than that to get in the Hall of Fame. It took character. It took those character qualities that you guys are studying, the trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Those 6 pillars, or you'll hear Mr. Houston refer to them as 7 pillars. He's got a little interesting insight into that. But those 6 pillars are at the core of our Hall of Famers that have allowed them not only to be successful on the field, but off the field as well. And Mr. Houston's a great example of someone who's had as great a career, if not greater career, and probably you can argue definitely more impactful, I guess, when you start talking about impact on society, is that, he's gone on to an amazing career, Hall of Fame career, off the field. So we're extremely excited to give you the opportunity to speak with Mr. Houston. But before we do that, we do have to thank a number of folks, and as well as the schools. First and foremost, we need to thank Kingwood Middle School and Humble ISD. Paige Parker there, at Humble ISD, making this arrangements. Her and I have been emailing each other for the past month and a half, 2 months, making sure this happens, testing again, testing some more, all those fun things. So, Paige, thank you very much. Seriously, thank you for all the work that you've done on your end, and thanks to the administration, the folks at Kingwood for allowing Mr. Houston to come into your doors. We also want to thank the Houston Texans because they are working with Houston ISD, and in this case with Wheatley High School. Thank you for reaching out to Houston ISD and getting some of your schools connected there in Houston. Greatly appreciated. All the folks with Houston ISD in Region 4 ESC there. Andre Walker, who's the Assistant Athletic Director with Houston ISD, as well as the folks at Region 4, Joe Lee, Diane Edgar, Thomas Wright, all those folks that helped make this connection possible. Thank you very much for your help. We also have to thank eTech Ohio, who's the one that bridges this conference for us, and all the conferences that we do through Heart of the Hall of Famer series. It's not possible without the great folks there. Teachers, thank you. Obviously, it doesn't happen without preparation and work from you guys. It does take sacrifice to be able to set this up and make arrangements, preparing your students. We greatly appreciate all the work that you have put forth to make this program, we'll say, a success. And definitely not the least of them, but thank you to the students, because you're the real stars of the show. You're the ones that are going to be driving the program here today. We're really excited to see your questions, hear your questions, and looking forward to the interaction with Mr. Houston, so thank you to the students as well. I would like to recognize all the schools that are participating here today, so when I call upon your school, feel free to unmute your microphone and give a shout out, show some school spirit if you would. First and foremost, we'll go right there. Mr. Houston, plug your ears for a second. Let's go to Kingwood Middle School. Go ahead. Now, for bragging rights, Kingwood, I'm going to say you guys did a lot better than the earlier group of Kingwood. So just for bragging rights, you guys did better. We had to ask them to do it again, the first group. So thank you very much, Kingwood. We greatly appreciate it. Let's go to Houston, Texas, Wheatley High School. I saw a bunch of football players there, look like. Thank you, Wheatley. And we've got an extreme close-up of a couple students. I don't know if we can back that up so we can see everyone. If not, no big deal. We can hear you. We're okay with that. So thank you very much, Wheatley. We got a close-up of the student with an A on his sweatshirt right now. But that's cool. He's a good-looking young man, so we can keep it on him as well. Let's go with Raymond Tellis Academy in El Paso. Did you guys get connected?
Yes, we're connected.
Okay, are you guys getting video? I'm not getting your video.
Oh, you can't see us?
Keep talking for a second.
Can you hear us? We
Count
can
to
hear
5
you.
for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nope, it's not switching over. That's okay. If you can see and hear us, that's what's most important. But hopefully it'll switch over when you guys ask the questions. Let's go to Lorain County, JVS, Lorain, Ohio. All right, thank you, Lorain County. We always appreciate your participation in this program. They're one of the veterans here. Another veteran is in Montana, Bozeman, Montana. Go ahead. Bozeman? Lynn, you let me down. I put you guys up on a pedestal here. All right, Bozeman, we'll come back to you. I know you guys were there earlier. So last but definitely not least is Brighton High School in Rochester, New York. Go ahead, Brighton.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people here, so really can't clap and scream. But
Okay.
go Brighton.
Thank you, Brighton, and they have the Ohio State Buckeye fan in Brighton, so definitely appreciate it from us folks in Ohio here, in Lorain County, and obviously the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So thank you, Brighton, and we appreciate your participation in this. Again, I want to remind all the schools, and it looks like you guys are all well versed in this. Make sure to keep your fingers on the mute buttons. Make sure you keep your microphones muted until we call upon you, and even after you respond to the question or ask your question, make sure you mute immediately following so we can eliminate any of the background noise. Well, I'd like to get to the introduction of our esteemed guest, Pro Football Hall of Famer Mr. Ken Houston. Let me read a little bit about his on and off the field career. Mr. Houston was a 9th round pick in the 1967 draft. He was traded to the Redskins for 5 players in 1973. He is acclaimed as the NFL's premier strong safety during the 1970s. Excellent speed, quickness, size, and he was a punishing tackler. Intercepted 49 passes for 898 yards and 9 touchdowns. He also scored on a blocked field goal, a fumble, and a punt return. He was named to 2 AFL All-Star games and 10 Pro Bowls. All-Pro or All-AFC/NFC, 8 of 9 years, from 1971 through 1979. And obviously in 1986, he received the highest honor that an individual player can receive, and that's being enshrined here into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's his on the field. Let's look at some of the things off the field with him. He's worked as an academic counselor for at-risk special education, homebound, and hospitalized students in the Houston Independent School District. Mr. Houston, as his coworkers refer to him as, coordinated academic testing for the 200 to 300 general and special education students in the district's special education community services program. And I love this quote that was said by one of his peers, one of his coworkers, colleagues. And this comes from Brenda Griffin, who was a secretary in the office where Mr. Houston worked. He is a real compassionate person, a very beautiful person. Some of the students leave and they call just to talk to him. We have children who are repeat offenders with drugs in the program, and they always call him when they need someone to talk to. Houston's annual celebrity golf tournament raises money for Texas Children's Hospital. Those who work with Mr. Houston say he makes the biggest impact on kids in need. His career in education has spanned 3 decades. Mr. Houston's coached Little League football at Kingwood, high school football at Westbury and Wheatley, who we got tuned in here today, college football at the University of Houston, and professional football with the Houston Oilers. So obviously a person that's very passionate about volunteering, especially in the Houston area. And I think what said best was the GM of the Washington Redskins says this about Ken: he's a better man off the field than on the field. So with that being said, what I would like to do is go ahead and go to a video of Mr. Houston.
6'3", 200-pound Ken Houston was a natural at the strong safety position. This prototypical defensive back was a punishing tackler and an elusive runner when the ball was in his hands. With the Oilers, Ken Houston set an NFL record by returning 9 interceptions for touchdowns.
Okay, if you can all join me for a moment and unmute your microphones and join me in giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Ken Houston.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you. I I didn't do it last program. I want to do it this program. I need to really thank Mr. Saki for doing this because this is his third year, and the interaction you get around the nation with this program that he's put on through the Hall of Fame, we take our hat off to you. You know, I continue your success in this and hopefully get larger. And I always enjoy, you know, I happen to be a Hall of Fame, but I always enjoy interacting with kids and with the staff and people here. And especially thanks to the staff here at Kingwood. This is my second time, Mr. Atterbury and his staff. So thank you guys, and welcome to the program. I want you to feel as loose as you can be. There are things that I can learn, maybe there are things that you can learn, but at least we can talk to each other and let you know that people that play football are real. I'm just like you. I got up this morning kind of excited about being here, kind of anxious about the question that you would ask me, and hopefully that I can give you some answers that you can hang on to, and maybe if you choose to go that direction, you can use some of these things for your life, understanding that I'm still learning. So again, welcome to the people around the nation that are tuned in. Get your questions ready, and it will be from the heart of a Hall of Fame because I'm a Hall of Famer, whatever that is, right? So I will give you the answers to the best of my ability. So Jerry, you know, without taking up too much time, let's go ahead and start the program.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Houston, and we appreciate that. And what better way to start off than the students that are right in front of you? If a student wants to come up and ask a question, we'll have them come to your left shoulder this time. There's a little bit more room on the left side there. So if you want to go ahead and come up and ask the first question, make sure you say that loudly so everybody can hear it across the country.
My question is, how did your career as a pro football player prepare you for life after football?
That's a good question. Stand right there, okay? I didn't know he could talk because when they had the cheering section, he didn't open his mouth. So I'm glad to hear that he's got a good question here. But his question is how did your career as a pro football player prepare you for life after football? And that's a very good question. The thing about professional football is such a microcosm of your life until you get to do everything quickly. A lot of guys only play 1 year. A lot of guys get to a training camp. I happened to play 14 years, so it all had to start and end in a certain period of time. So in essence, I went from the beginning of life to the end of my working life by the time I was at age 37. So I had to do a lot of things very quickly. I had to prepare for stuff like that, and I knew that I had to change careers, okay? And so by being a football player or being in a sport, it makes you really, really flexible because, you know, as a team person, you can go to a game and you can have a start out there and one play can be down. The next guy has to step up. That's the way life is. You have to step up. You have to step up daily in everything you do and all the things you choose to do. So life and football work together. It's just a small group that you are not forced into, but that you choose. You don't pick your teammates. You have to play with them. That's a lot like life. So that's how it has helped.
Great question to start off with, and I think a great example of not only you know, as opportunities arise, you said it could be an injury or something like that. That opportunity arises for somebody else. Is making sure that you're ready for that opportunity. Make sure that you are prepared. And there is no greater example, I think, in the NFL. If we just look at it on the field perspective, all you students know who Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers was falling behind a guy by the name of Brett Favre, a legend in Green Bay. And, you know, he a couple years behind Brett Favre's shadow. But, boy, when the opportunity came up and he had the opportunity to take that starting role, I can tell you because I connect with schools in Wisconsin all the time. They're like, Brett who? So they forgot about Brett Favre because Aaron Rodgers is their golden boy now. So, I mean, it really is a matter of being prepared and being ready to step into those opportunities as well. And football teaches you that as well as other areas of life. So thank you. Great question. Let's go to Wheatley.
What was your challenge while head coach here at Wheatley High School to expose your players to character qualities that will prepare them for the real world?
That's a great question.
Let me just, Wheatley, after you ask your question, we're getting a lot of feedback from you, so make sure to mute your microphones immediately following. Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations on the purple and white at Wheatley. I spent some years of my life there, so I'm very familiar with your program and the community, and it's very impressive. Your question was, I guess, in preparation for life, in terms of what football does, and I don't think there could be a greater example than the experience I had when I was at Wheatley High School. And I'm going to name a name that the people in the neighborhood still know, Canavis McGee, who was a tremendous basketball player. And I kind of talked him into playing football, and he ended up being a #2 draft choice for the New York Giants. And now he's coaching at Colorado. And Montana Wagner, who went on to play at Kansas. Leviticus Williams, who went on to be a principal at Sterling High School. All these kids were on my team. And so they did not let anything define them other than their character and who they are. And it was a tremendous amount of students that came through Wheatley High School when I was there that taught me an awful lot, because I thought I went there to teach them and they taught me. And so it just goes to show you never stop learning. And as late as last year, my wife worked at Wheatley High School, okay? And so we have connections there, and really a shout out to the principal and Sandra Walker, who's been there forever. She was a coach and I was there, and she's like the mother of Fifth Ward, because everybody's been there for the last 20-some years, she knows, and the people who participate in the sport. So athletics are a great venue to the things that you'd like to do from anywhere in the world, with Wheatley being no exception.
Thank you very much. Great question, Wheatley. Let's go to Raymond Tellis in El Paso.
As a counselor, did you integrate the character traits with all of the students you served? And what was that work?
Could you repeat the question, please? Really loud.
As a counselor, did you integrate the character traits with all the students you served? And what was the outcome?
Did you integrate the character traits with the students that you served as a counselor? And
Yes,
how did that work?
that's a very good question. The character traits with the students I served as a counselor, and by the way, congratulations. I was out in El Paso here 2 years ago with some Hall of Fame staff. We went to the Sun Bowl, I think it is, okay? Had a great time there, great food, so I always enjoy being in the present. I love to go to El Paso. But yes, in counseling, counseling to me is not life. And when as a counselor, I talk self-experience, so I'm assuming your experience is the same as mine, okay? When I look at you, I look at me. So basically, when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself, because that's what I believe. So I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't believe or try to get you to do anything that I don't want to do. So I put myself first. And as a counselor, you weigh everything. And Mr. Sock was right. There are 6 here, but they are so strong I count them as 7, okay? You got the trustworthiness, the respect, the responsibility, fairness, caringness, and citizenship. If you can put all those things together, then let me tell you that you're on your way, but every day there's work to do. So take these things, put them in front of you, and not only will football be something that you can do anything in life you want to do, but you have to have these character traits. So thank you. It's a great question.
Great questions to start off this program. Let's go to Ohio, Lorain, Ohio, excuse me.
Did you ever take on a leadership role as a youth? If so, what was it?
I told the group prior, my first role in leadership was singing in the church choir. And let me tell you why that really kind of defined my life. In the early days of professional football, when I was in Orla, you could actually do things other than play football. And so one of the things that I did, I was a choir member at First Missionary Baptist Church. And on the day of the game, I would actually go and sing in the choir. The day of, on Sunday, sing in the morning service and leave there and go and play in the game. And I did it without thinking, because that's what I was taught to do that. And so whatever you end up doing is a part of who you already are. So that's why these things are important. So now, if that was leadership, I don't know, because you are only a leader if somebody follow you. Okay? So I don't know who followed me. But I have been told since that time that, man, you did that. That was really unbelievable. So at least people were watching me. Their choice was theirs. So if some of the things that I do have leadership capabilities and you follow them, then I appreciate that. But I'm always on the spot to make sure that I'm teaching you the right thing. Okay?
Thank you very much, Lorain County. And I know Bozeman just emailed me from Montana and said that they had some scheduling conflicts, so they are not going to be able to make it. So we'll skip over Bozeman, and we will go directly to Brighton High School in Rochester, New York.
My coaches often tell me that football is like a life lesson. I just wanted to know what life lessons did you learn while playing football?
All of them, and it is. With the male student, it may be football. With the female student, it may be the marching band or the majorette. But you learn the skills that it takes to work with people as far as development, and you become a part of. I think that the thing that's really, really critical is that in anything in life, especially sports, you have to deny yourself because the team is larger than the individual. So if you can deny yourself and become a part of, you lose the ego tripping, okay? And I know that I didn't win this game by myself. I don't care if I scored the winning touchdown. I don't like the accolades placed on one person because it takes 36 people, not only 11. You can't practice by yourself. So even the guys that do not play on the field, who never get to touch the field, there's an important part of that team as the guy who has scored the touchdown pass or threw the touchdown pass. So the sum is bigger than the whole, if I'm saying that correctly, okay? And you're just a part of. So if you can take that character trait, I think you'll be better off in life.
Thank you very much, Brighton. And let's go back to the top. Kingwood, if a student would like to flank Mr. Houston there, I guess.
Okay.
My question is, was there ever a time you thought football was more important than your family?
That's a great question. What's your name?
Elizabeth.
You telling them. Great, okay. Okay, was there ever a time when you thought football was more important than your family? No, my mom wouldn't, she didn't play that, okay? And let me tell you why. I was involved in 3 sports, and I was a pretty good athlete. I do the track, and I remember this coach who I have respect for him today. His name was Elmer Red. And back then, we didn't have that many athletes, so we needed to go they needed us to play. And my mom knew that her baby was tired, so I'd get home some afternoons in that little break, and she'd say, "You're not playing tonight. You're going in and you're going to bed," okay? And I'm thinking, go to bed at 4 o'clock, but guess what? I went to bed at 4 o'clock. But at 5 o'clock, the school bus would pull up in front of the house, and the coach would get off. And he said, "Miss Houston, we'd love to have your son." She could never turn the coach down. "We'd love to have your son play." And I'd get up out of the bed, go get on the bus. And then we'd pull up at Finals Taylor's house. He was already working in the field. He was already applying roles. And he goes, "Miss Taylor, we'd love to have your son," okay? And naturally, we all went, okay? And so I learned then that family come first. Very quick example. I played 13 years and never missed a game. And we played the New York Giants, and I broke my arm. And things get really, really quiet when when a player is down on the field. And they came on the field, they took me off, and as I was going to the locker room, I heard all this cheering. And for the first time in 13 years, the game had started without me. And that was a shocker. So the game will go on, okay? The game will go on, so no, your family is the most important thing because the game will go on in spite of. Thank you.
Great question there, Kingwood. Let's go back to Wheatley.
Yes. Out of the 6 pillars of character, which do you believe are most important and why?
That's a great question, okay? And the last group asked that, and I have really not been able to separate which character trait would be the best one because they all interrelate. They all interrelate. I looked at, like I said the last time, respect. I think that respect is really, really big because you have to respect yourself first. If you can't respect yourself, you can't respect others, okay? And if you respect yourself, then you'll learn all the rest of these. But they all interrelate. It's just like being a part of a team. You know, I think that's why the team is so great because you have to not be above yourself to become a part of. And then when you become a part of, it's not your individual achievement, it's how far you can bring your team. And that's what life is. How far can you bring your group? Because you cannot live in life by yourself. So if you would just take these 6 and try to live by these every day, I don't have to worry about the person because I know what kind of character you have.
Okay, and thank you, Wheatley. Let's go to El Paso. Raymond Tellis Academy.
Why do you present your character education course to students?
Why do you feel strongly about presenting this character education course to students?
Because I'm a student. You know, I'm a people. I'm an individual. If I would be the president of the United States, I'd still be Kenny Houston first. And so I was Kenny Houston before I became a football player. My parents them gave me that name even before the minute I became a person, I had that name. So it's not about who I am now. It's about who they told me I was and what they taught me to be. That make any sense to you, okay? And so that's why I say that's important.
Thank you very much, Raymond Tellis. Let's go to Lorraine.
What are some example times that you had to persevere through adversity?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What are some examples of times that you have had to persevere through adversity?
Very good. That's a very good question. The time I had to persevere through adversity. Let me give you a list of my just football injuries, okay? I have an operation on my right knuckle. I had a broken arm. I've had 2 knee surgeries. I had numerous concussions. I have a receding disc in my back. And the ankle turn and stuff like that, I won't even begin to think about. And I only missed 1 game out of 13 years. So every Sunday, it was bigger than me, okay? And so when you can think about others before you think about yourself, that's perseverance. It's like as a student, you know, you get up, Mom, I got a cold this morning, I don't want to go to school, and you're thinking about yourself, and your classmate might miss you. I know the teachers do. So once you leave self, you can persevere because we always put ourselves out there first, okay? I think your whole life, you'll have to persevere. Even at my age this morning, I had to get up. There are things that I had to do. So when you can go beyond how I feel and think what I have to do, I think that's perseverance to me, and all my life I've persevered.
Great question, Lorain County. And let's go back to Brighton High School.
Do you have any suggestions for a high school football player?
Yes, I do. I mean, first of all, you have to give up, you know. And when I say give up, I mean you have to give up a lot to be an athlete. And you guys know, first of all, you have to give up your time, right? You have to give up study time. You have to give up. So you have to be bigger than the sport itself. Because if you know you have your studies, you got to come and you got to study. So that means you have to give up some of your TV time. You have to get your rest. So you have to give up some maybe going out time. They have, during the holidays coming up, you guys are going to be involved in sports. You got to keep training. So you're giving up yourself. So all the time as an athlete, you have to give up, okay? And you have to give back. So you really can't separate the two. It's just, again, it goes back are you willing to deny yourself to better somebody else? And that's what athletics are.
And Mr. Houston, I know one of the things that summarized you, I think you've definitely been a positive role model in people's lives. Sometimes people think of peer pressure, they think of it as a negative thing, as negative peer pressure, but there's also the positive side as well. Can you comment to that?
Absolutely. The positive side, you talk about peer pressure. A lady made a statement a couple weeks ago I thought that was really important in the way I see things. She said a mother is no happier than her happiest child. Okay? I want you to think about that. Everybody else can be successful, but if you got one person who's not successful, that's that mother's love or how they care. Okay? And so regardless of what else is going on around you, if everybody is not where they need to be, somebody's worried. Okay? And you asked that question. Give me the first part of the question again.
Yeah, just talk about, a lot of times we think of peer pressure as a negative
right.
thing.
Okay. Peer pressure, to me, especially at the age group I'm talking to now, the middle schoolers, and peer pressure is unbelievable. And I always tell them, I can do bad by myself. I don't need you to help me do bad. And the thing about peer pressure that I find very interesting is that if I'm doing something right, I don't have to ask anybody. Why would you share, and I'm going to use the term cigarette, why would you share a cigarette with me, but you won't give me your hamburger? Because when you do wrong, you need somebody to do wrong with you. Think about that. So peer pressure is not asking you to do right. Most peer pressure is asking you to do wrong. Am I correct in saying that? I like to tell, my kids, or anybody, or kids at school or whatever, guys go say, hey, come on, let's go have a beer. I said, well, okay, come on, go to church with me. So it's really important that you know who you ought to know what this peer pressure is, because today in this classroom, today in your classroom, somebody's going to come around and they will ask you to do the wrong thing. So it goes back to that perseverance. You do the right thing. And that's going to take an effort on your part. So yes, there is both good and bad peer pressure. You go with the good. You be the leader. It all plays together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Houston. And let's go back to students in your classroom there at Kingwood.
All right. All hard coming up.
My question is, did you participate in any opportunities to volunteer during your career? If so, how did that affect your life after retirement?
That's great. His question was, did you participate in any opportunities to volunteer during your career? If so, how did that affect your life after retirement? Volunteering to me is everything. And as I was talking to Mr. Saka, they got this thing in Canton, and for the Hall of Famers. Everybody that's in the Hall of Fame, they had this statement, welcome home to Canton. And 26 years ago, I didn't know what that meant, okay? But now I know. Because I'm a person that they did not know. The city opened up, and you go back every year, and you have 400 or 500, they run the whole thing of volunteer other than Hall itself, if I'm correct in saying that. And so you go there, and all these people, they just open up the city so you can feel welcome. But I think one thing here in the Kingwood area that you guys can see right away, and eventually, if you haven't, you will go there. You go to the hospitals, and usually all the people that welcome you at the desk, they are volunteers. Or even at school, the Parent Teachers Association, volunteers. So it's very difficult to go through life without volunteering for something. And I'm just a part of that group that when you get a chance to volunteer, then do it. So it's very important to me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And what Mr. Houston is referring to is our Enshrinement Festival celebration that weekend We have about, it's more than a weekend now. It's 11 days, 20-something events. About 1 million people come here to Canton Stark County for that. In all, we have, is talk about volunteerism, we have about 2,000 volunteers that help make this take place. So we definitely can't do it without volunteers. Definitely not. So with that being said, let's go to Wheatley.
What is your feeling about females in athletics? And since there is a professional women's basketball team, do you think the NFL would support the women's league?
What do you feel about women in athletics? And do you think there should be a women's football league? Now that there's a women's basketball league, should there be a women's football league?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I think that athletics doesn't have a gender. I think that if you can do it, then you should allowed to be you should be allowed to participate in it. The only thing that you heard my list of injuries, and so my question to you: are you willing to pay that price for the injuries that you will sustain? Not only that, as a female, you're the mother of life. Okay, so your role is a lot larger than mine. Okay, and so what do you put at risk when you play the game? You know, I think that sometimes a lot of times I'd be running from guys, you know, and because it was a real fear, you know, when a guy, you're good until they hit you, okay, and then you go, well, why am I out here? And I ask myself the same question, okay. I love, right now, I probably will watch a latest basketball game if I watch a man's basketball game. I love to watch Baylor. I watched Brittany. I even went to school. I watched Brittany. I watched Baylor play at Notre Dame last year. You got one coming up tonight, I believe. Skylark is playing Whitney, and so I love female athletics. I thought the Olympics this year was a perfect example. And you know, some sports I don't like to see men in mixed martial arts. So I think that you have to question yourself as the danger of the sport, and then you make the decision as to whether it would be good for you. But as far as my opposition of it, I have no opposition. That's a self-induced question that you'll have to ask.
Okay, thank you very much. What was that, Wheatley? We'll go to Raymond Tellis, right? I think that's where we're at.
Has character changed in the NFL since you were a member?
Has character changed in the NFL?
Has character changed? I think the thing that has changed to a degree, yes. Okay, because when we made a tackle, it was just making a tackle. You know, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, Raymond, can you make sure to mute your microphone? Thank you.
Okay. What happened was, when I say yes to a degree, because when we made a tackle, that was our job, and I'm not jealous of what they do, because it's a selling thing now. But when you made a tackle, that's what you're supposed to do, and you don't spend as much money. I mean, as much energy getting off the ground, running around, telling that I made the tackle, as you did making a tackle. And so, from that standpoint, it's a little bit more showmanship in it. I'm not opposed to it because I laugh at some of the things that what guys do, but I think when it becomes abusive or degrading to another player, then I think you should question that. And then I think you should also question, do the fans like watching this? What do they want? You need to listen to the fans. And if the fans don't like it, then don't do it, you know, because they're the one that's paying your salary. They're the one that have to watch it. So you need to, you need to think about that.
Thank you, Raymond Tellis. Let's go to Lorain County.
What advice can you give young people about how they develop their character?
Oh, Mr. Houston, are you there? Maybe you guys muted your microphones there.
Okay, we're back. Somehow we got dropped out of the call.
Okay, all right. Go ahead and repeat your question. Thanks for getting back in there. Lorain County, go ahead with your question.
As As a child, what events in your life do you believe helped shape you into the man you are today?
What events in your life do you feel have shaped you into the person you are today?
I think my life is shaped on a daily basis. I look at my parents. They were the first page. I look at I still remember my first grade teacher, a lady by the name of Miss Ella Mae Austin. I didn't want to go to school, and I would cry every day. I cried every day for 2 months. And so one day they decided they would put me out of school. And I was in the latest class with my name of Miss Gwendolyn Hill. And on the way out of school, the lady by the name of Miss Ora Hagney, who was the principal, was walking me out by this teacher. And she asked, it was a girl by the name of Tommy Lee Walker, and she said, "Where are you taking those babies?" And the principal told her where they were taking them. And she said, let them stay in my classroom for the day. And she was teaching our class, and she put Tommy on one side of the desk and myself on the other, and didn't say a word, just continued teaching our class. And at lunchtime, she said, "Would you guys like to help pass out the lunches?" And I looked at her. I told her, "I can't read," because it was named on the bags. And she said, anyway, make a long story short, she go out and she called a name, and we take the bag to the, and all of a sudden, the day had passed, and I hadn't cried. And that afternoon, she said, "Would you like to come back tomorrow and be in my class?" And I did, and I never looked back. I graduated from high school at 17, and I was on the way out of the door. So there are a lot of things that shape your life. I think you have to be aware of it, but I think that the most shape is put in at an early age, during this age with your coaches. I think your coaches will shape your life. I think the teachers shape your life. And I think parents shape your life. So it's a lot that goes into that.
Thank you very much, Lorain County, and let's go to Brighton High School.
What sparked your journey to football?
What was my journey?
What sparked?
The need of a girlfriend. Honestly, that's what it was. I was a band member. I was a sophomore in high school and playing a tuba and a trumpet. I remember playing Richard III, and all I knew was about the first 6 notes. It was da 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 da. Couldn't go no further than that, right? So my band life was limited anyway. But there's this one young lady that I admired, and I knew that she kind of like football players, so I switched over to football. And like I told the earlier group, I didn't get the girl, got the football, but not the girl. And it was something that I liked doing. It was a challenge for me. I like being a part of being able to express myself through sports. Once you put on a uniform, everybody's the same. You become a Tiger, or whoever team you're playing for, and you were just one group. And I like the fact that just being that one group, it was all equal, and just you were the only thing that could limit yourself in the scope of a team.
Thank you, Brighton High School, and let's go back. I think we got time. Looks like we got about 12 minutes or so. We'll go through one more time. Let's start with Kingwood again. If a student would like to come up front there.
Right.
My question is, in your early playing days, was loyalty within the team an issue?
In your early playing day, was loyalty within the team? Yes, it was. Loyalty isn't always an issue in everything that you do, because if it's a team, it's not a team, it's people. It's not, you can say it's a team, but without people on the team, it wouldn't be a team. So whatever you decide to do, you have to be a part of. And so if I'm depending on you to show up on Sunday, you have to be loyal to what you do. And I'm depending on you, okay? Just think, your coach, Miss Parker, they all depended on you to be here in the group. And I want to thank Miss Parker, because when that screen blacked out a couple of minutes ago, if it was left up to me, this show was over. I couldn't do it, okay? So you bring something to whatever it is you're a part of. And you're loyal just by being here. So yes, it is a very big part. Thank you.
And I can tell you, just it's a kind of a microcosm. Football's a microcosm of life. But being prepared for those situations. Even the screen going out. Miss Barker was prepared and knew exactly what to do if that happened because she was well prepared. So preparation takes place whether it's on the field, whether it's off the field, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's a video conferencing broadcast. I mean, it's everything. So thank you, Mrs. Barker, for being there to get things back up and running. I appreciate it because I'm definitely relying upon you to make this happen. So appreciate the loyalty. So Wheatley High School, go ahead.
What do you feel about the Texans' chance of making the Super Bowl this year?
That's a great question. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the Texans, first of all, is very good for the city. They have a very good ball club here. They went through adversity. I mean, they won one. They built this thing from the start. And you're talking about a team that's loyal and a coach an owner that's loyal to his team. You can look at the Texans and kind of set an example of how things are supposed to be. And so with all that working together, now they're in position to at least make a run for the Super Bowl. And what's interesting about a Super Bowl winner, that it has to be a winner and a loser. And that's not good because those are the two best teams in football, the ones that got there, okay? So you can't be labeled as a loser if you got to the end of whatever it's supposed to be. And I think the Texans are in that position. And I think they're part of this broadcast. I heard him mention the name Candace Mayberry. I work for the Texans as an ambassador, and she's the one who sets up all the appearances and stuff like that. So my hats are off to the Texans for even being a part of this. And if you know Mr. McNair, he's a big part of what goes on in the community other than football. So he's a perfect team player.
Yes, I know Mr. McNair, and they have their foundation there and do a lot giving back to the community as well. So appreciate them being a part of this and everybody being a part of this as well. But let's go to El Paso. Raymond, tell us.
Did any of your students make it to professional NFL using the pillars of character?
Did any of your students make it to the NFL?
Did any of my students? Yes. One, I mentioned a group earlier, the kids from Wheatley, guys from Wheatley. Canavis McGee became a real prominent part of the New York Giants. He was the number 2 draft choice. I was the 9th round draft choice. So I always admire a person that's taken above me, or even after me, okay? Because it's just so many guys they could choose from. And to play first of all, it's all different levels. You got the high school, you have to take your head off of kids that play high school, middle school, and every level gets just a little bit harder. And it's not that more guys can't do it, they just have a limited amount of jobs. So you can get one of those jobs in the NFL. That's saying a lot about what you sacrifice along with everything else to get you there. So Canavis McGee would be in the highest order of guys that I've coached that ended up in the league.
And just to give you guys an idea of how challenging it is to get in the National Football League, if you guys go to the NFL Players Association website, they're the union that represents the 1,500 plus players in the National Football League. They give a statistic on there. It is only 0.02% of high school seniors that play will ever make an NFL roster. Seniors that play football, so 0.2%. So if you start putting that into numbers, that's 2 in 1,000. That's 1 in every 500. So if you start breaking that down by your high school, you figure your high school football team, well, at least in Texas, they'll probably have 50 players, if not more. Ohio, same way, being 2 big football states. But you figure if you have 50 players on your team, 20 of them are seniors, it's going to take 25 high schools for you to have one person make it professionally. And even at that, the average NFL career is 3.5 years. And if we just look at Mr. Houston, how elite of a player he is, let's look at this number. Those people that made it professionally, since the NFL started in 1920, there have been 23,000 men that have played in the National Football League. There are only 273 in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So you're talking to an elite athlete here today. So I just wanted to throw out some stats for you guys, just to let you know it's difficult. But there's a lot of other opportunities behind the scenes in the National Football League as well, besides for being a player. Let's go to next up will be Lorain County.
Do you think the Browns would ever make it to the Super Bowl?
Do you think the Browns would ever make the Super Bowl?
The Browns.
Just to let the schools know, this is a Cleveland area school, so they've been suffering for the last 40 years, I guess, Cleveland.
Well, I guess since you're in the Cleveland area, I would probably have to ask LeBron James to get permission. No, but the Cleveland, the Browns, they were the cornerstone of football teams. They were the team that everybody wanted to watch. You're talking about Warfield, you're talking about Jim Brown, you're talking about Leroy Kelly, and these guys are Hall of Famers. So the Browns are ingrained in my mind as one of the founding great teams in the early days. They've had some, I would probably say, management problems in terms of drafting players and stuff like that. They had trouble with their draft choices. So they've fallen from grace a little bit because the people remember the old Cleveland Browns. They won't go this year, I can bank on that, okay? But probably within the next 3 or 4 years, they'll be a contender.
And for those of you, the Lorain County folks, the Browns back in, especially in the 40s and 50s, they had a leader by the name of Otto Graham that 10 straight years he took the Browns to a championship game. And I think they won the NFL or as well as the All-America Football Conference championship, I think 7 out of those 10 years. So 10 straight years, 10 straight championships. So the Browns were, they've hit a little tough road here the last, couple decades. But even during the 80s, they were a contender every year as well with Cardiac Kids in 80 and Bernie Kosar and some of those names that were after Mr. Houston's career, but nonetheless names that he's probably very familiar with. So hang on there, Lorain County. It might be around the corner someday. So let's go to Brighton High School.
Did you ever want to quit? And if so, what helped you keep going?
Well, that's a great question. Not only did I want to quit, I quit 3 times my rookie year. I just left. One time I left camp and I was gone 2 weeks, and they came and got me. I came back to Houston. We were in Kerrville, Texas. And they asked my wife, could she talk me into going back? And she did. Thank God I went back. But that was the hardest thing that I've ever done as far as being in a professional football camp. They only keep me back then, I think 37 guys. And they had 37 when I got there. And so I couldn't see myself being one of the guys they were going to keep. And I had some conflicts in the way I brought up. On Sundays, all we did, we went to church, BYP, and Sunday school. And we thought that was God's day. And so I used that, probably as an excuse from being beat up all the time. And I didn't want to do that because I thought that on Sunday, that was the day that was set aside. That at least we were raised up like that. And I remember when they talked to my wife and I went back,
Give me just a minute. I'll try to get that taken care of. Everybody dance for a minute. Broadcast. There we go. See, it takes a team. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye. We persevered through something else. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, Jerry?
Yes,
Jerry,
sir.
Was that a Brown fan?
I think so.
No, yeah. There are times in life you want to quit, okay? But if you persevere, it's best for you. And it's no different from anything else. Sometimes you just don't want to go to school, right? You just don't want to go, but you go here and you have a good time anyway. So when those hard times come, and they will in anything you do, just work through it. And I thank God that and my wife too, that she talked me into going back. And I had everything I wanted. I had a trunk full of soda they gave me in camp. I had a brand new car and $7,000, so there was no need for me to go back. I thought that was it in life for me, but it worked out. And when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I had Wally Lim, who was the coach that talked me into coming back, give my introduction speech because of that reason.
And the students, one thing, quitting can become a habit, and not quitting can become a habit as well. And those are the folks I want beside me, whether it's on the gridiron or whether it's here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is that no matter what situation is that we're gonna persevere through it. And those are the men and women that we have here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We take on some very big tasks here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, nationally televised events, and we don't quit. It's easy sometimes. Things don't go your way. It seems bleak that whatever you're trying to do is not going to come out, but you keep persevering, keep fighting through. So it's something that's on the field, it's off the field, it's in your classroom. So not quitting can become a habit. And those are the folks that I want working beside me. And I think those are the folks we got here today, because we're not quitting with this broadcast, even though there's some distractions here. But we appreciate it. Let's go back. It's 1:30, but let's go one question from Kingwood. It's in the program.
Okay.
Did honoring your commitments on the field help you become a more reliable person off the field, and how?
Thank you. His question was, did honoring your commitment on the field help you become a more reliable person off the field, and how? Yes. Okay? Because when you make a commitment, people are dependent on you. Okay? And so my family depended on me to go to work, which is what I did. The fans depended on me to play. My teammates depended on me being a part of that team. The coaches that picked me, they depended on me. So see, it's a long line of dependability. Just like when you started school this morning, a lot of people depended on you. Without you, we wouldn't have a job here in the school. Your parents, it was important to them that you come here and you do the right thing. If you look into dependability, that's life itself. That's life itself, because we depend on you to get this education to solidify your kids' future, which means they will take care of us. So it's just a line, and it all starts with dependability. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Houston, we've touched on a lot of different things here today, or you've touched on a lot of different things. Is there anything you'd like to reiterate, or anything maybe you didn't share that you'd like to share with these students today?
Well, I think that I tried to answer the questions as honestly as I could. But all I would like to say to the students here and every other venue that's listening, pay attention to your parents. Take the best thing from them. Pay attention to your teachers and the coaches and take the best things from them. And so when I say take the best things from them, it's important that you know what the best thing is, right? So that means you have to depend on yourself a lot too. So you have to be willing to listen, you have to be willing to learn, and then you have to go out and do it. So thanks for allowing me to be a part of this. If I said something that may be able to help you, take it. If you think it's really, really good, pass it along. If you think it's no good, get rid of it. Because again, it depends on you. It's all about self. And so you guys in a position where you can learn, where you can do, and one day you'll take that seat, this seat, and this seat. And you'll be the guys that run the world, and we depend on you as far as dependability is concerned. Okay?
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Houston, on behalf of the Hall of Fame, myself and our executive staff and everybody else here that you know very well, thank you for taking time out of your morning to do this program. We greatly appreciate it. Students, can we give them a round of applause?
Mr. Saka, you can help me out next year when you do this thing. Make sure my display is on display behind you.
We keep all of our important stuff on display in our museum. That's where your stuff is. This is just a little Sam Bradford jersey back here.
Right, okay, yeah. Tell them all I said hello.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, students. Thank you, schools. Thank you, E-Tech, Houston ISD, Kingwood, Paige Parker. Thank you very much for making this possible here today. And thank you for working with us. Texans, everybody else, E-Tech Ohio, all the people that helped make this a success. We appreciate it, and hopefully we see you here in Canton, Ohio someday. Take care.
Thank you.